Hi, we are running today the BPMS rules and search proof of concept. In order to do that, what I have right here is a location where I will clone the Git repositories. I will paste the Git repository address in the video description. So I am just cloning the repository for the BPMS rules and search Git, and I will also clone the repository for the client. Okay, now we have the BPMS rules and search and the BPMS rules and search client, both directories right here. So next thing is that we will create all the dependencies and all the components of the BPMS rules and search, which are, most of them are kjar files from the Business Central, created from the Business Central, most of them. Let's see what is in there. So price calculation is a kjar, the cloud solution projects is a kjar, and the recommendation rules is a kjar. The cloud quote model and the cloud rules work item handlers, they are jar files. Difference is that they have been created instead with Eclipse, even though they are Maven projects, so you can open with your preferred GUI for that. But main thing is that cloud price calculation, cloud solution projects, and recommendation rules, they are knowledge projects. That means that they can be executed in the BPMS execution engine, which is the KIE-SERVER. We will be executing these three projects, which is cloud price calculation, cloud solution projects, and recommendation rules. We will be executing those in KIE-SERVER containers, while the cloud quote model and the cloud rules work item handler, those two will be dependencies that will be used by the other projects. So let's begin with building the Maven components, the Maven dependencies for our projects. Let's start with the cloud quote model. Build has been successful. One of the things that we will do is that, let me explain this, is that when we invoke the execution of either the recommendation rules or the price calculation from the cloud solution projects, all of them will use the jar components, the objects that are defined in the cloud quote model. They will be using the POJOs that are defined here. But if they are not part of the same class path, if they are not part of the same class loader, then they will be not able to recognize the type of object that you are sending to each one of them. So instead of having a dependency copied from this cloud quote model in each one of the resulting kjars, what we will have is a common jar source for the objects in the server library. That's why we will copy this target source, this cloud solution DTO jar, into our KIE-SERVER. Here I have two instances of the JBoss EAP server. One of them will be used for the Business Central, the other one will be used for the KIE-SERVER. I'm kind of simulating the controller of the KIE-SERVERs and a KIE-SERVER instance right here. So we will copy to the KIE-SERVER instance, which will be our runtime. We will copy this jar file. So I am using this is my my working directory for the jar file. So I will copy this cloud solution jar into, as you can see, this is the working directory for my KIE-SERVER. Basically my JBoss home will be like this for the KIE-SERVER. So I'm copying to lab BPMS KIE-SERVER deployments, standalone deployments, KIE-SERVER war. I'm using the webinf and the library folder there. That's the location where I'm copying my jar. So let's continue building the other dependencies. Now this work item handler is only used by our cloud solution projects. We will see that in the development in the next videos. So we will not need to copy that into a libraries folder because it's part of the dependencies used by the cloud solution projects. Now let's continue with the with any of the rules, which is the price calculation. Now let's do the recommendation rules. Finally, we will use the cloud solution projects kjar. Okay, we have all the components that we need. Now, next thing, we will use the Business Central as the controller of our KIE-SERVER in order to deploy our components into that KIE-SERVER. Let's start my instance of standalone JBoss EAP for the Business Central, and in the meantime we will start also our instance for the KIE-SERVER JBoss EAP. Okay, our KIE-SERVER has started by trying to find its controller. Which will be the Business Central. Okay, so we have a successful connection between our controller, the Business Central, and our KIE-SERVER. Now let's navigate to our Business Central, localhost 8080 Business Central. Let's log in. Now we will deploy The container that we will be deploying is cloud solution container. That's a given name that we will use. The group name will be or Acme Cloud Solution Projects, the version 1.0. We select a runtime strategy and we click finish. The container has been created. Now we will start the container. It will localize in the Maven repository our component, and now it has been started. Now we will use the Angular client in order to talk to this cloud solution container. So let's do that. This is where I just cloned the BPMS rules and search and the BPMS rules and search client. So I'm changing the directory to the BPMS rule search client. One of the things that I will do real quick is to confirm the name of the container that I'm using in the endpoint for this container. So I'm using the project service. The container name is Cloud Solution Container. Let's compare that with our container name, which is Cloud Solution Container. We are fine, okay? So let's start from our repository. Let's change directory to the Cloud Solution Projects, and let's do ng-serve in order to start our web service. Oops, I just need first npm install. Oh, this may take a while, so I will pause the video right here and we'll get back once npm has completed the download of the different components that we would use for this. We'll be back. Okay, npm installation has been completed. So now let's do the ng-serve. Now it will compile our solution. Will be ready for us. Once we receive this message, it is completed. So let's navigate to the local host 4200. Oops. Yeah, like that. Okay, once we are in these cloud solution projects right here, we will click the start new project. Let's do test demo project. We click next. We see the execution in our KIE-SERVER happen. Actually, we can go back to the project list. We are in the cloud definition screen. We can go back to the projects list and we can see that we have this pending project. So let's do a second test. Oops, I just created a TE project and enter twice. Second test. We'll go back to the projects list. So I have these 4 projects right now here, and I can go to the next screen of each one of the projects by clicking. I can select here a country and a cloud provider preference. If I click next right here, then I have already a price for it. I can go back to the projects by navigating to it. I can click again in the number 1 and I get the summary again. I can modify by modifying. Now I select Australia GCP. Now I want an ingestion tool for it, so I click next, and instead of receiving the summary, I'm receiving the data ingestion. So I require an EAP license. I will perform data profiling. I will use talent, and I will use 15 designers for it. So let's click next. Now I get the summary, also with the data ingestion tool information. Now if I approve the quote, I will stop looking at that project number 1 because it has been completed, the quoting information. Now it is a matter of designing what is to happen next after the quoting, but we will see where the information is persisted and stored. But actually I can click in the number 4 and I can see that I go back to the screen that was pending to be done. So I will use data visualization for this one. Click next, and I see the data visualization tool definition for this one. I can go back to the projects list, and if I click again to this project 4, I still need to define the data visualization tool. Once I define this data visualization, I click next. Now I see the quote summary. I can modify the quote or I can approve the quote, and actually I can see the projects list. I can click again that number 4 and I go back to the summary. In our next videos we will see more information about how this has been developed. Before going there, let me go to the MySQL. I have configured the KIE-SERVER BPMS. And I can see here in the projects, I think it's project, yeah. I can see here in the project database that I have access to all the different projects that have been created. As you can see, this is the project number 1 with the price, the title, and we actually also have more information about what was stored in the cloud solution and in the data visualization and all the information related to this project. We will see that in future development where we will implement the search tool to this database, but as you can see, this is beyond the execution of the different rules in the engine that we will also see in the next videos. So stay tuned. We will have more information about all this development of rules execution and search engine. Thank you.